You.
So you want to be a writer. Maybe you've got a story to tell, but now what? Welcome to the Author Strong podcast, where we'll take you from the first page to being a published author by providing you with the tools you need to succeed. Now welcome your hosts, Matt Morris and Nancy Elliott.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Author Strong podcast, where we give writers the tools they need to succeed. I'm Matt Morris, and as always, I am joined by Nancy Elliott. Nancy, how's it going?
Awesome.
Awesome. Nancy,
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed this, but we things are a little bit different today. We're sitting here on Google, and we're joined by multiple guests, and theoretically, we actually have people watching us. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You seem a little hesitant.
I know why everyone else is laughing. Matt.
What is? Did I miss something?
No, it's just Nancy
No,
featuring
it's,
enthusiasm.
I'm just having a hard time. Yeah. It's looping, Matt.
Oh, it is looping?
Yeah, it is.
Hopefully that fixed it. So we're doing something a little bit different.
Sorry.
And no worries.
I had like the worst ADD just now.
It happens. That's part of the fun of doing a live show. And so
It's still happening.
what's happening? The looping?
It's still happening. Oh, this is funny.
Is the looping still happening?
It's still looping. I just said it again. It's like Inception.
It is.
Matt, like something's happening.
That's unfortunate. Did that fix it? We're having
No.
technical difficulties, and I have no idea
Am I
why.
the only one? Like,
No.
okay.
You're all hearing something?
No, I don't know what's looping, but this is awesome. This is a great start.
I think it's a great start. So, so real quick, because we're all laughing, having a good time. We are joined, Nancy. We are joined by a couple other people. We are welcoming back to the Author Strong podcast, Libbie
Oh my
Hawk.
gosh.
Libbie, how's
Wait.
it going?
It stopped.
So if you introduce...
Libbie's.
Uh-oh.
And
We lost-
Libbie's
No.
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh,
Yay.
we're gonna have like everything just try and like go wrong right at the beginning.
Let's get it all out of the way now.
Libbie, how are you doing?
Doing great. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. I'm doing
Other
great.
than the technical difficulties.
Yeah, well, it's our first live show. Why wouldn't we have technical difficulties?
Yeah.
And we are also joined by the one and only Robert Chazz. Chute. Robert, how's it going?
groovy, matey. Arr.
Yeah, I'm wearing my pirate outfit. I don't get to wear my pirate outfit enough, so I think I mentioned to some people, I was like, on the live show, I'm gonna wear the pirate outfit. Yay. And so here I am.
like it. You mean hipster pirate. That's what you
Oh.
mean.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Hipster pirate.
Okay.
That's exactly what I meant. I had it as my profile picture on Facebook for a while, and then I had to take it down. Such is life. But
So I
so
have
we
to
are-
share really quick. The
Okay.
reason why I was such a derp is because I didn't realize that I had the YouTube the channel up, and it started streaming about 30 seconds after we started the stream.
right,
So there
So-
you go.
inception occurred, and
I just feel like I needed to out myself because I would feel bad about that forever.
what did I do? So yeah, it's funny. So for everyone who's just tuning in, I got this cool mixing board. You can't see it right now, unfortunately, because the camera doesn't show it. But and so we're not only doing our first live show, but we're doing like our first show with a mixing board too, and so it's kind of weird and probably prone for error, but such is life. So
Ha.
welcome everybody to the first Author Strong podcast live show. So we're gonna be doing one of these every month, probably the last Thursday of every month, and Libbie, Robert, thank you both for being first guests, both in the first
Yes.
month of our show and on our first live show. Thank you very, very much for joining us.
Glad to be here. And today we're talking about building audiences.
We are talking about building audiences. Real quick, for anyone who's viewing live, if you're on our website, you can leave comments at the bottom. Just keep in mind that there's tabbed like different comment systems. They don't mix. So you gotta check them. whichever comment system gets the most, we're going to go with that in the future. So in the future, we're only going to have one. For now, we've got multiple, such as life. There's that, and then also, real quick, before we jump into building an audience, I also wanted to say that Nancy and I do have an announcement. We're going to be doing a giveaway contest. We're going to talk about it later. Also, we're going to do a little Q&A later, right? I try and do like a little like mid-show tease, and I'm awful about it. I'm like, we're going to talk about this, but then we're not going to tell you.
You do it all the time.
Oh, and I hate it.
Later in the show, someone will be naked. Later in the show, much later. Hang in
Much
there.
later.
Much later in Robert's own show.
It's okay, it's an audio podcast.
All right, so as Robert mentioned, we are talking today about building an audience. Now, this is, I don't want to say it. It's something I'm passionate about, right?
Oh, there it is.
There it is. I said it. I said I'm passionate about everything.
Everybody take a drink, because Matt's passionate about everything
Oh,
that
man,
he is publishing.
That's what we should do.
I'm gonna take. So, it's a live show, and I have to do do drinking on like live shows because that's just how I do. So I'm gonna open my bottle of wine here, and so I want to talk about building an audience because it's pertinent not only for our listeners, for authors out there, but it's also pertinent for Nancy and I right now because we have over the last month had to build an audience doing a podcast, and so I wanted to having both Libbie and Robert on is a great. It's good to have a bunch of points of view because there's not just one way to build an audience. There's a bunch of different ways you can go about it. And for example, one of the best things that's helped us in this first month with the Author Strong podcast is having people like Libbie and Robert on. It's like I let them do all the legwork. Not really the legwork, but but that's part of it. It's just networking, is sharing and whatnot. And so. We have you guys on the show, and then you share the show with all of your contacts, and then it's just a chain effect, and it builds and builds and builds. And that's that's one thing that's been very there we go. That's one thing. That's one way that that listeners can go about whenever you're sitting down to publish something. That's one way that you can build an audience is by kind of glomming onto someone else's audience. That's why you have the prevalence of these big box sets. That's why you have the multi-author box sets are the big one that I think of for using a strategy like that. So, well, let's roundtable it a little bit. Libbie, I know that you've been around for a couple of years now and publishing, and I know you just by the way, congratulations! Tide Water, I believe it is, just came out. Nancy's been raving about it, by the way. She keeps saying,
Don't out me. It's weird.
I
have been. It's great. It's really great so far.
So
good, thanks. I'm glad you like it. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that.
Oh.
Come on, signal. Make it.
Oh.
Try it again, Libbie. You're back. Try again, Libbie.
Okay. Is it, I'm just going to dare to suggest this, is it maybe potentially the awesome hipster pirate garb that is, overloading the bandwidth and glitching us out?
Well, it might be. I could turn it off.
We could try it and see if it runs better, and then if it doesn't, just go straight back to the pirates.
You're breaking Matt's heart.
I know. I'm sorry. It's such a buzzkill.
As Nancy likes to say, my tears are for my pillow. I'll be
Anyway, hopefully I won't glitch out again. And sorry, everyone, who's listening.
Oh.
Nope, that wasn't
too
it.
appropriate.
Womp womp.
Oh.
Robert, how about you? I know that you've been around for a while as well.
Smooth. Well, as you say, there are many ways to build an audience. I think that when you think about building an audience, you need to look at it on a continuum. So when I started years ago, I started writing about writing before I started publishing, long before, and that was like a couple of blogs ago. So I know there are a lot of people who say don't write about writing because you'll only get writers, but I don't know if it was particularly a strategy, it was just that I was following my passion. But the continuum for me is alliance, network, audience, community. So through my blogging, I got alliances. I met a lot of really great writers who helped me at the beginning. So when you're at the beginning, you need somebody who knows, how to do a trick in Scrivener. This was before there were a lot of videos on how to do Scrivener. And I networked with those people. And then that led me to find ways to build audiences. And you'll know that you've reached community when your readers are talking to each other. But that's my kind of pyramid of, depending on where you're at in your writing career, start with alliance, move to network, go to audience, and then community. So, for instance, through my blogging, I met Armand Rosamilia, who's a fantastic horror author of Dying Days. Got a podcast, the Armcast podcast, the Dead Sexy podcast. And through him, I met Simon Whistler, and through Simon Whistler, I got into Simon's mastermind group, and through that, I met you, Matt, and through Matt, I am here. And now I've met Libbie, and we'll have her baby. So you see how these things happen.
That escalated quickly.
Down we go. Yeah, I was going to say, that did escalate kind of quickly.
You're a miracle of science if you can pull that off.
I'd be impressed.
I don't understand why you're surprised. Anyway, so there are lots of ways to go through that continuum. I've had some success with podcasting. I had some success. I think right now my next move is to do the Nick Stevenson route or the Mark Dawson route with Facebook ads and that sort of stuff. Reader magnets, where you give something of value to get an email address, build your email list. I wish I'd built my email list or started building my email list much earlier. I just recently finally got into SumoMe. I've done MailChimp, and I really liked MailChimp for managing the email list, but I like SumoMe for the tools, extra tools that it gets. I know some people have told me that SumoMe has slowed down their website. That hasn't been my experience. Okay. So I don't know if I'm jumping too fast ahead for how you kind of pictured what we're going to talk about. But as far as strategies go, I'd say that there are a lot of things that you can do, and you don't know for sure which one is going to take off for you. I think right now with Mark Dawson, Nick Stevenson, their courses in using Facebook ads, that's pretty reliable if you've got the right magnets to drive that engine and let people give up their email address. I don't think it's as easy as it used to be to get an email address, because so many of us are subscribe to stuff where we think, oh, geez, another newsletter. Do I need another newsletter? How many more newsletters do I have to, delete each day? But just to give a kind of a broad, that's the kind of a broad summary of kind of the stuff that I've done, the stuff that I'm trying. That's where I see it going.
It's funny. I was just talking with Nancy. I think it was last week. I went on this newsletter purge. And I was just sick and tired of waking up every morning and having, 50 emails, most of those in the morning, and most of those being just random newsletters that I maybe read once. Like I signed up for some reason, and I was just still on them. And so, yeah, I just went on an unsubscribe binge. And so, but that being said, newsletters still, from a marketing standpoint, once you have those emails, for me, the newsletter has been one of the best marketing tools that I've had. For most of my marketing, the only thing I do at this point is my newsletter. I don't even, for better or worse, I don't waste my time on a lot of Facebook or other paid promotions or anything like that. I submit to BookBub, and I do my newsletter. And for marketing, that's largely what I do. So
you do a lot of Goodreads too, don't you, Matt?
I do. So what I do with Goodreads for me is actually more about building reviews, and that's one way that you can do it, because I do engage with people specifically and reach out and contact them, and that builds some trust and credibility with that particular person. And then the idea is that you write an amazing book, you reach out, you connect with them, and then they share that with their friends. And so I don't necessarily do it specifically for marketing. I do it for reviews, which you can view that as being for marketing. But that is what I do, and I haven't done it in a while, but it has been incredibly effective whenever I've used it like that. And for anyone who wants to know a little bit more, I think the episode we did with Zach Bohannon recently, it was talking about finding beta readers. I detail a little bit more of that process in that episode as well, on how you can use Goodreads to find beta readers and reviewers.
I think you cut out there a little bit, so for the listeners, that was Zach Bohannon, right?
Yes, Zach Bohannon's episode. I can look it up, but it's the one where we talk about finding beta readers. And so, Libbie, crossing fingers. I know that you've got a lot of stuff going on. What are your thoughts on building an audience, and specifically on getting started with building an audience? You know, those first few readers, and then growing it from there. What have you found has worked for you?
Yeah. Okay. Let's hope that I. So. I didn't get stuck again. Are you guys laughing because I was funny, or are you laughing because I'm frozen?
Yeah, we were. When you start,
you're hilarious.
Freezes.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me try turning my video off. Let's see if that frees things up a little bit.
Sure.
That's a good idea.
We're gonna blame this.
All right. Am I frozen, or am I actually functional for y'all?
We can hear you.
Oh,
can
good.
hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your picture is moving, and that's kind of a letdown, but I think that's working as intended.
Yeah, I got a started. I think, like I mentioned on the very first interview, I got started by kind of like stumbling into stuff. Thrown stuff.
We might actually have to try that whiteboard idea we were talking about earlier, Libbie.
Yeah.
And my phone number.
Yeah, Libbie, I think we missed most of that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You were talking about trying to use your phone to call in.
Phone number. We'll just do that.
Just
Okay.
a quick question, Libbie.
Yeah.
Do you have a whole bunch of tabs open on your computer, perhaps? Oh, I don't know if she heard me.
She might have dropped out.
Yeah.
Did she?
I didn't
Okay.
like it.
Okay, so but what I can say, so for building an audience, now in my own, I think one of the things that I've done that has been most successful in building an audience, outside of, I kind of use Goodreads to build reviews and whatnot. I use different things to build a newsletter, specifically, but to build the audience in general, I think one of the biggest things that's had a huge benefit for me, the multi-author box sets that I've talked about, those can be gigantic for the right, if you get into the right box sets, that can be huge. But also, I think one of the things that that really worked for me and has been also working for this show is content creation, right? And so one of the perks, for example, of having a daily podcast is that we get new listeners, and they have a ton of content to go and consume. And there's something with that, especially with books. Whenever a reader picks up your book and they like one of your books and they see that you've got a number of other books to support it, then if they like your style, you've won a reader because you're giving them a lot of content to check out. Mm-hmm. And I found that the times where my sales grow the most and my overall readership interaction, my newsletter grows the most, etc., is when I'm on a consistent and relatively quick publishing schedule. What I mean by relatively quick, I've had the most experience when publishing novels within a 5 to 6 week period, consecutively, and then also with the novellas and more serialized fiction, 2 to 3 weeks. You keep on a 2 to 3 week schedule consistently, and that for me has been one of the most explosive things that I saw, and kind of witnessing it that this year where it was like sales were going up by multiples every time, and so.
So with Amazon, you never drop off the cliff of at 30 days where they forget who you are. You're constantly being promoted.
Exactly, and so and that's one thing that we haven't really talked about, the 30-day cliff on our show yet. But that 30-day cliff, whether it be true or not, I don't know all the science there because obviously Amazon doesn't share their algorithms, but it seems to be likely that the Amazon algorithms that drive the sales rankings. And we're also we're planning an episode coming up probably in the next couple of weeks where we detail that, where we talk about Amazon sales rankings, what they mean, how you can interpret them, etc. But
well, you definitely drop off the new releases list, right? After
yeah,
30
well,
days.
so after 30 days, right? So one of the things that that's important for Amazon, whenever you publish a new book, you're eligible. That book is eligible for the hot new releases, HNR. You'll see it abbreviated. The hot new releases for 30 days, and during that time, that's almost like a micro bestseller list. So only books released within a 30-day window are possible to be on that bestseller list. And that bestseller list gets shown next to the actual overall bestseller list, and it gets its own little category. I think it gets its own category. I'm not sure. At the bottom, whenever you look at the sales rankings, and it says number X whatever in whatever subgenre. You can click on that, and then you'll also see the hot new releases come up. And so really what it comes back to is the hot new releases gives books a lot of visibility in the early going. And so whenever you can be on that list, especially if you can be on that list multiple times because you've published multiple things in under a month, it's a lot more exposure. And exposure is really the name of the game kind of early on. And just getting eyes on getting readers to see the work that you're putting out there in the first place.
But what if you don't write that way? You're saying that really speaks to a sort of publishing schedule that not everybody has.
Then you
that sounds very daunting to me. I'm not there yet. What hope do I have then if that's the primary?
Well, there are many ways up the mountain, and if one door is closed to you, then you have to use the other options, like Facebook, for instance. Personally, I used to blog a lot, and now I find that that's not near as valuable as it was, because when I was blogging, I was looking for alliances in a network, and it's not my way to find readers. I don't find Twitter useful because I find that most people just look at their notifications of who mentioned me today. They're not looking at their home so much. So you can have an awful lot of Twitter followers, but that doesn't necessarily translate to anything particularly useful in that echo chamber.
That's pretty true.
But there are other options.
Yeah. It's a good point about Twitter. As much as I like trolling it for news, it doesn't seem very conducive to drumming up an audience. I think you have to work too hard to make it work for you.
Yeah, well, early on there was a whole lot of. Oh, maybe we'll get hold of Libbie too. Hopefully we'll get her back.
I was hoping she would come back into the chat.
Hey, Libbie. Can you hear us?
Hey. Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, that's right. I called you on my phone. So now you're joining us again.
Oh, good. I ran down to the little office meeting room thingy in my apartment to try to see if I could get a better internet connection down there. So I'm standing by with my stupid tablet to try again if this doesn't work.
Well, problem solved. We got you on the phone, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we were just talking about building newsletters, and we were also talking about. Sorry, I know that you guys were talking about Twitter. I was kind of making a phone call, and I apologize for kind of tuning that part out. But we talked about, I talked about one of the things that's worked the best for me is really just a constant production cycle. So 5 to 6 weeks on novels, 2 to 3 to maybe 4 weeks on shorter works, and I've kind of said that that's one of the things that really helped launch a lot of my sales. Recently as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even just old sales, but I've had a lot of success with that recently.
Yeah, I would definitely tend to agree with that. I mean, when I first started out, I just kind of stumbled into the self-publishing thing, and I really didn't have much of a strategy. And initially, my audience really kind of found me because they just happened to be looking for what I just by luck kind of put out there. So I mean, I didn't really have much thought put into it at first, which is too bad.
Yeah.
But since then, I mean, I've been definitely, in my observation, a constant production schedule, or as close to constant as you can get, at least regular, is really crucial in keeping people engaged and interested. And I mean, you can't. A lot of people can't do constant, but you can at least maintain contact with your fans by your blog and Twitter and Facebook and your mailing lists and stuff. And just keep them informed of what you're working on, so you at least keep sort of like some level of excitement built up over it.
Yeah.
So, for example, like most of my fans of Flee into Ancient Egypt, that's kind of why they ended up following my stuff in the first place. So I have a new series set in Egypt that's coming out on June 1st. So I've been really like staying in touch big time with everyone on my mailing list and doing everything I could to just sort of like throw those little tidbits of excitement out there about what's coming down the line, because I know it's something that a lot of my fans are going to be really excited and engaged with.
Right.
So I want to kind of like keep that fanned as much as possible and keep that like kind of the fire burning a little bit.
Yeah, the constant contact is really important. And Libbie, I want to make sure, can you hear everyone else? I wasn't sure if you can only hear me or hear them.
I can hear you okay, but everybody say something.
Hi, Libbie, we love you.
Nope, I can only hear you.
Okay.
I can be back on the Hangout if we want.
That again, that's up to you. So if you wanna risk it, then go for it. Otherwise, I can keep you on the line and kind of fill you in, and we'll just kind of we can play around with my ninja audio skills only extend so far, unfortunately.
Well, she's on an iPad, right? So maybe
try
we should
jumping
give it a
back
try.
on the Hangout, and we'll see how everything goes.
Yeah, sure. We'll do that, and then if it doesn't work, we'll figure something else out.
Okay, BRB.
Thanks, Libbie.
Okay.
A couple things I wanted to touch on. One is, it's not that Twitter can't work, it's that a lot of people don't think they use it correctly. So the cliche is, don't say buy my books, buy my books, buy my books. I think that's been said too much. Everybody gets that,
Right.
or should by now. But it is a great way to engage people where you can find like-minded people using hashtags. You can find people who are on the same page you are. The second thing I wanted to ask about was, Matt, you said you use Goodreads to build reviews, but you weren't specific as to how you did that. Is that through Goodreads giveaways? And maybe you should explain how that works a bit.
Yeah, and so I kind of mentioned in that other episode because I do explain there, but I can re-explain it. It's easy. Basically, what I do is I go to Goodreads. I've written a book. I go to Goodreads and I find other books that are similar to mine, so same genre, similar in style or similar in feel, that have just kind of overlaps. And I just look through the reviewers, and I find people who have reviewed those other books and enjoyed them, and I just contact them directly, and I message them, and I say, hey, would you be interested in, I wrote a book, would you be interested in, I'll send you a promotional copy in exchange, I would appreciate it if you leave me a fair and honest review. And that's it. And I've had I've had a noticeable impact on sales and on engagement, reader engagement, when doing that. Because it's surprising how many of the readers, they really, they like being contacted by an author. They like that connection. They like knowing that you're available to them. It makes them feel special, and it makes them feel good. And then if you write a book that they like, they might be already more inclined to like it in the first place because you're doing that. But if you then, they enjoy it, then they share it with their friends, and they're more inclined to kind of, promote you and be there for you. And that goes a very, very long ways. So does that answer your question on how I use?
Yeah, and it makes me think of something else that I'll add quick, is that when you're looking for something of value to give potential readers, it's surprising to me a bit, I guess, some of the things that they do value. So, for instance, a couple weeks ago, I put on my Facebook real quick, look, I'm doing a raffle. You want to have your name in my next book. I can't guarantee that your character will live, but they'll appear at a crucial and emotional moment, and your name will be memorable. Yeah. So I put that up, and I got 100 new people on my author page like that. It was and only one can win, so I ended up giving a bunch away to everybody because I didn't want to disappoint anybody. But right. so awesome. I opened that up too. But just to have your name in a book, I've done that a couple times now, and it always surprises me. It's like, oh, people really do like that, and it's something. It's easy. It's cheap. It costs nothing.
Right.
Right.
And that's another way just to kind of loop people in and engage them. So, okay, so I wanted to address. I know it's been mentioned a couple of times in the comments, kind of a response to something I said, and
Mm-hmm.
what that something is the idea of how writing quickly, right? Not even writing quickly. Let's clarify that it's not writing quickly; it's publishing quickly.
Right.
And I draw a distinction with that because I think that it's pertinent for newer authors. And so one of the things that I recommend for newer authors, especially whenever you're first publishing, is, and this is going to be really, really hard to do, is I recommend writing 3 to upwards 5 books, or 5 products, maybe 3 novels, and then 2 novellas. And I recommend not publishing any of them until you're done with all of them. Now, there's ways that you'd have to go about getting reviews. There's ways you'd have to go about getting like beta reader feedback on those to make sure that the readers that you're trying to hit enjoy those novels as you're writing them and not after the fact. And there's ways you can do that. You could just do exactly what I just said about Goodreads. Contact people and get them to read it ahead of time, right? But one of the things that you can do, and a lot of people that are going to be in those earlier shoes, they're not going to be writing full-time like I am. They're not going to be able to dedicate, their entire workday to writing and focus on that alone.
Right.
They're going to have family. And just like you, Nancy, you get family, you got work, etc.
Yeah.
And that's why I recommend writing everything and holding it back, because then whenever you do start to publish and you start to do those marketing efforts, then all of a sudden you have a lot of options available to you where you can release the novels in consecutive months. And all of a sudden you can do that now for 5 months whenever you have that many products, or you could do it for 4 months, or you could release it all at once. You just have a lot of options. And I've seen a lot of people, Libbie and Robert, I'm not sure if you've kind of seen the same with other authors. I've seen a lot of authors have a lot of success when they do strategies like this, where they actually hold back on their initial releases. I don't think it's as good if you're already established, if you're already releasing stuff. If you've already got a sales funnel, you want to keep releasing. But before that point, I think it's very effective to actually hold back and then do a bundle kind of publication all at once, or in fast succession of every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, something like that, have this new novel come out. The problem is you need to write that ahead of time if you're not going to be able to write it in that month. So, Libbie, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or because I know that
first of all, coming to you live from the fires of hell, like sorry about my
I noticed
extremely orange video
impressed.
here.
really funny. Robert's screen lights up red whenever you talk, and so it looks like both of you are just like shining red, and it's weird.
Oh God, it's spooky Mormon hell dream over here. Yeah, so I tend to agree with you for the most part. I mean, whenever I'm talking to newer authors, and I have been talking to some newer authors quite a bit recently. I started connecting with a bunch of ladies on this other, like, not even related to writing forum where I've been hanging out, and they've all been asking me, like, oh, I want to write too, like, what do I do to get going? And that was one of the biggest pieces of advice I gave, that a lot of it kind of depends on the expectations of your genre, how fast you should be, releasing your first few books. But I've definitely advised everybody to, like, don't bother with putting effort or especially money into promotion until you have, like, 3 or 4 other books out. Like, you need to be able to actually funnel people along to those. Because when you can build that excitement, they read your first book, they feel amped up on your stuff, you can hit them immediately with a call to action right in the back matter to either sign up for your mailing list if they want news and announcements, or click here to buy the next book in the series, or click here to buy this other book that's so similar to this one, I know you're going to love it. You can kind of set them up to act immediately as soon as they finish that book and they're still on that high. And that's where you tend to get good income from, is you kind of lure them in with the first book, whether it's full price or free or just 99 cents or something. But what you're really striving to do with each kind of connection you make with them at the end, after they cross the finish line at the end, you're going to connect with them on something else, and you're going to send them to do something else. Yeah. So the more you can send them to, the farther your effort is going to pay off.
Yeah, and I think that you draw back another key point that I didn't really reference earlier, and Robert, I think you were talking about it as well, is that the idea of constant communication, of making sure, it's so easy, it's sad, but it's so easy for readers to forget about you. especially early on in your career. And so that's one thing.
Yeah.
Another tool, and I haven't personally used this, and we talked about it with Mimi Strong on today's episode, the one that came out today, about genre hobo. But we talk about it, about doing pre-orders, and that being a very effective way also for newer writers to handle. So, like in my instance, where if you had all pre-written all of these novels or stories, they could be novellas, they could be anything, just stories, something. And you can set up pre-orders for them going forward. And even if they're already written, and what that does is it allows you to give a link in the back of your book saying, hey, the next book's coming out in a month or whatever. Here's a link. You can go buy it now, and it's going to be delivered to your Kindle when it's available. And then you've already got it all set up. You don't have to worry about it. And that helps them not forget about you. That notifies them that, hey, I've got a new book. And, oh, yeah, I remember this book. I really liked it. And it's really about staying fresh and staying top of mind in their head. That is, I think that's the better takeaway than just publish a lot or, be consistent. Is make sure that you're staying top of mind with good information and adding a lot of value to your readers, and they're going to appreciate that. Whether or not you're selling them your own book or you're selling them another book that you really love by an author that you really love, whatever the case is, they want to read. They want to read something good, and if you can make sure that they get something good in their hands to read, they're going to appreciate you for it.
I think
I really like what you said about providing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm not sure, but I think with pre-orders with Apple, it's a year ahead. You can have pre-orders. With Amazon, I think it might be 90 days.
Yeah, I think it's 90 days.
Yeah.
And that's the cap, where the minimum I think is like 10 days on Amazon. I'm not sure what it is on Apple. 10 days on Amazon, and that means that you need to give them the finalized manuscript now, and then in 10 days you can publish it. They require the manuscript 10 days ahead of time.
So it's a little bit of a catch.
Yes. Sorry, Libbie, you were going to say you like.
Yeah, I like what you said about providing them with information they can use. That's really important. And I actually have on the sign-up form for my mailing list, I'm only going to email you when I have a new book out, or news release. Not just going to send you a newsletter for no reason, So the way I actually kind of stay engaged with readers and keep thinking about me is mainly on Facebook. And what I do there is exactly what you were mentioning. I talk about other books.
You're silencing out. So I'm going to try. Libbie, I'm going to try and recap what I think you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong. But the idea.
I post links about ancient Egypt or other ancient cultures.
It's like one of those death of the Mr. Smith in the Matrix, right? It's unraveling.
I'm pretty sure her last words were ancient cultures, and I'm just wondering how she got to there.
We're ancient cultures. Libbie, we're talking about readers. What? Sorry, Libbie, we missed most of what you said. I think what you were trying to say was providing that value, and that's one of the things you use Facebook for, is keeping your readers apprised of what you're doing, keeping them apprised of what others in your genre are doing, because you do write. One of the things that you're successful at is a very niche genre, and you're able to provide some very useful information in that genre specifically. I think that's kind of what you were saying.
No, I'm not sure whether she's frozen or pissed off.
Yeah, no, she was typing.
Yeah.
Send them links, send them articles. It doesn't. Keeping in touch with the readers doesn't have to be just about fiction books. So there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and so great. So we have talked a little bit about we've got about 20 minutes left in this show before we got to take off. So I did want to open it up. I know we've got a few people kind of leaving comments on the page. We got a few people leaving comments on YouTube. So feel free, ask us any questions, and we will respond to them as quickly as possible. I try to kind of respond to a couple of them that were talked about. And I do like to use my hands a lot when I talk.
Yes, you do.
What I do?
You do.
I was going to say I'm very handsy, but that's different.
Oh, not good.
Yeah,
I would not use that descriptor.
That's way different.
You're half pirate, half cephalopod. Yes.
Seriously.
I think one thing that we should make a distinction with, like I was thinking, pre-orders, that's one way to go. Another one at the other end to keep constant contact with people if that's your aim. I kind of like Libbie's idea of I'm only going to contact you when I have something new for you. That works especially if you have something new fairly often.
Yes.
But autoresponders, to setting up those through MailChimp or Aweber is another way to go. So you continue to keep contact to a certain degree. I probably don't keep contact with people enough. But I think as far as the value that we give people, you want to think of it the way a new reader versus somebody who's already in goes. So what I have in mind in particular is when I see somebody tweet a cover reveal, but I don't know anything about the author, I don't know anything about the book, I'm really not interested in that. As to come to them cold and have them offer me a cover reveal, I mean, and I'm really interested in covers. I'm in 3 businesses, and one of them is cover design, but I'm not interested in seeing cover reveals.
Right.
And we'll see when people blog about it. That's for the people who are already in. That's not to That's not to build a new audience. That's to reach new audience.
That's to keep an established audience engaged and aware and keep you top of mind with them.
So when you evaluate what you're giving away, whether it be a cheat sheet, a PDF, a secret scene, behind-the-scenes stuff, podcast, whatever you're doing, try to keep that in mind as far as what's for new people and what's for the ones who are already in your tribe.
Exactly.
In your tribe, I like that.
Great information. So I mentioned earlier, I teased it earlier. Nancy and I got together earlier today, and we decided to do a giveaway. We've talked about doing it this whole month, right, Nancy? And
yes.
We keep talking about we should get an Alpha Smart and do a giveaway for an Alpha Smart because they're really cool. And so
I have one thing. I have to interrupt you really quick just because of the comment. It's for Libbie. Zach Bohannon says that Libbie, I know you've been working with an Amazon publisher. Do they have any sort of control over what CTAs you put in your books? And congrats on the deal, by the way.
That's CTA is the call to action for anyone.
Okay. So do they have any kind of control over that? I think she's like furiously typing.
Yeah, Libbie's gonna type to us so we can still see her, but she's gonna type to us and we will. I'm
sorry to interrupt your pitch.
Oh no, it's fine. We'll transcribe her response as best we can.
Or Nancy, just listen very carefully to how she clicks, and you can figure out what she's saying.
Okay, so Libbie says, thanks. They have most of the control over that, but they've been great about listening to my suggestions on what I'd like to see at the CTA. So they've been really awesome as partners. That's good to hear that they're not uber controlling.
Libbie, yeah, and do they control when you do a CTA? Are you able to? And maybe this is one of those things where like sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Like able to direct of your choosing. So not only the type of CTA or whatever it is, but go do this or go do that, and give you the power to dictate that. Maybe I'm kind of saying the same thing over again that Zach just asked. But because there's different things that you could ask, a call to action is a call to anything, to have someone go do something, and so it's a pretty wide range. And there's a lot of things you might want them to do. You might want them to leave a review. You might want them to share it on Facebook. You might want to get them on your newsletter, etc.
Right. See, for author pages on Facebook, are those valuable for building an audience or just better suited for informing the one that you already have? Or kind of both, maybe?
I'm sorry, I totally blinked on that one. I was reading Libbie's response, and then you responded, and
I think I got it. As far as the Amazon author pages, is that what you're asking about? Author pages?
Yes.
What's interesting about that is everybody says you got to have your Amazon author page down. What's wrong with you if you don't have it done? Blah blah blah. And now Simon Whistler from the Rocking Self-Publishing podcast has several times spoken to people who are incredibly successful who have nothing for their author pages.
Yeah.
So your mileage may vary. I think it makes sense to have it up there, have something about yourself up there. But having said that, I got it done on Amazon.com, and I don't have it across. I'm pretty sure I don't have an author page in India. Sorry, India, but too much effort. Got too much to do.
Is that the same for like author pages on Facebook? Like, are those good for building an audience or no? Zach says only a small percentage of people who like your page actually see your posts.
Yeah.
So I mean,
there is definitely a devaluation with the changes with Facebook. So you have to pay more in order to get more attention. But I think that's a transition that we're going to have to accept. Is we're going to have to invest in our businesses. We're going to have to pay for advertising where we got it fairly free before. So Facebook has changed, so they're trying to monetize more, and I think we're going to have to accept that. And as long as we can keep the cost per click down, it'll work.
And I think that to kind of bring it back, because someone also just asked about paid advertisements and what would be the most effective. So there was a time not terribly long ago, 8 months ago, 12 months ago, maybe 12 months ago, where I was actually very, very opposed to paid advertisements on Facebook. Now, since then, they have come out with newer tools that allow you to better target who will be seeing your paid advertisements. And so, for example, I know Mark Dawson talks about this a lot. He's very, very good at targeting, and we're actually going to have him on the show. Hopefully, we're in talks to get him scheduled. We're just working at the scheduling right now, but he is going to be coming on the show, and we're going to be talking about Facebook ads and targeting Facebook ads. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, so we're going to get more details on that. But so what I would say to answer this question specifically, so the question is, when you do spend money on advertising, which option is the cheapest, and which option gets you the most return? And which is your in-between compromise between those two factors? So where are you going to get the best bang for your buck? Where are you going to get the biggest return, regardless of whatever you're spending? So what I would say, there's two places. There's a couple different I'll kind of lump them all together as being mailing lists. There's a couple paid mailing lists that you can be on. The big one of those is BookBub. It can be expensive. I've never personally, I don't know any author who has not made their investment back and then some on a BookBub ad. The hard part about the BookBub ad is getting accepted for it in the first place. And so, yeah, so BookBub is the big one. You can only submit, you're only supposed to submit once a month, and so as soon as you have a novel out, I recommend submitting to it. And then, pro tip, if you write under multiple pen names like some people do, you can submit more than once a month. Wow,
Libbie, that's a lot. Libbie loves BookBub.
Libbie has a lot of Libbie dancing.
That's awesome.
Great. And so
you froze in a great way there.
The other thing I would recommend is they can be expensive. Again, you'll make your money back, but they are a big outlay at the beginning, and so it'll be a couple months before you make that back, just given the lag in payments from royalties. But the other thing I would say is that from what I've seen is if you want to spend smaller, just have smaller spends, Facebook, if you can target it correctly using the correct ways, and we're going to talk with Mark Dawson about that, but Facebook is the way to go. Whenever you can get a very, very targeted Facebook ad, you can put as little as, I think, $5 or $10 or something like that a day, but you can get in front of the people you need to get in front of. And once you've got the whole back end set up the way it needs to be set up, you can then convert those people into readers.
I'm really confused and upset now because I agree with Matt.
My strategy is if I just talk enough, eventually something I say will be good.
Oh, you can just wear us down enough.
Yeah, I just beat you over the head with my words, and then eventually things start making sense, and you're like,
oh, I get it. We've talked enough. It's Stockholm Syndrome kicking in.
He said, yeah, it didn't make sense, and now that kind of makes sense, so it's got to be good. Exactly. So we are running short on time, so any other questions, please feel free to put them in, and we'll try and get them answered. If we don't get them answered on the show, I'll stick around, or tomorrow I'll go back and I'll leave comments and respond just with comments to all the questions. So I did want to talk about, we talked about earlier, and then we kind of teased it midway unexpectedly. We're going to be doing a giveaway. And so we've talked about the AlphaSmart. I didn't have one at the beginning of the month when we started talking about the AlphaSmart. And, I've got a lot of friends. Nancy, you've got one. We've got some other friends with them. Robert's holding one up right now. You got to talk to us, Robert, so we can see it.
Yeah, you are now looking at an Alpha Smart.
Perfect. We're gonna be doing a giveaway.
Hooray!
I'm gonna hold up my phone right here.
Sprinkle
Only
hands.
this Alpha Smart at some point will be in the hands of someone else. And so what we're gonna do, if you guys have listened to the episodes we did with Libbie, the two specifically, the one Take Off Your Pants and Gotta Read It. In both of those episodes, we talked about Charlie, the guy who needs milk, right? And so it started with like, I said, well, the basics of a story is like you take someone, you give him a motivation, you give him something he needs, and then you stop him from getting it. And boom, you've got the beginnings of a story, right? So we said Charlie needs to buy a gallon of milk. Something stops him from buying that. Now, what we want, it could be anything.
Exactly.
And that's what we want to open this up for. And I know that in talking with a lot of people kind of locally, where they're looking for paid writing gigs, we wanted to kind of offer something like that. So here's what we're going to do for the next month, and submission deadline is going to end on our next live show. We'll be taking submissions of a short story, no more than 7,000 words, I think we kind of said. Are you good with 7,000, Nancy?
It seems an arbitrary number, but sure, I'll roll with it. Like, that's fine.
5,000 feels a little bit too short to me.
Okay.
You can tell a lot in 5,000, but
It
7,000
sounds like a lot to me, so, different
Make it
strokes.
6,000. Make it 6,000.
All right, 6,000. Boom, 6,000 per Robert Chazz Chute. No more than 6,000 words. We're going to put the cap on it, 6,000 words. But what we're asking people to do is submit their own short stories to us, and we are going to pick a winner. And so we're going to have multiple giveaways. So we're going to, multiple prizes. What's the word I'm looking for? Prizes. The first prize is going to be a $50 Amazon gift card, $50, and this Alpha Smart. I probably should have started with yeah, so $50 plus this.
Woohoo!
The second place is just going to be the $50 Amazon gift card. Third place is going to be a $25 Amazon gift card. And those are going to be all the paid prizes. Now, one thing that we haven't worked out the details, but what we want to do is like with the top 10 that we like the most, we're actually going to create a book out of them. We're going to take them. We're going to create a book. I'm going to write my own short story. Nancy, I know that you might be writing a short story to contribute to it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're going to put all those in the book, and then the invitation was also extended to both Libbie and Robert. And so if they can fit those into their schedule, they're going to do it. And what we're going to do is we're going to create just an ebook, and it's going to be a free ebook, but we're going to put it all together, and then we're going to create the book, get a cover done, and that will be available on Amazon for free, just to kind of help promote promote your writing, help promote the podcast, help promote everything. I'm also going to do something else with those ebooks. So I've talked a couple times about the tutorials that I do, and I talked about doing one about formatting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tutorial showing how I take all of those submissions and create an ebook out of them. And then what I'm going to do is anyone who submits to that tutorial, anyone who submits to it is going to get that tutorial for free. You'll just get the video showing how I turn a Word document into a book on Amazon. And so you'll get to see how to do that. I use Scrivener. I probably will use multiple tools. I'll show you how to do it. So you get all of that, plus get your writing in a book, possibly get a cash prize, also possibly get an Alpha Smart along with the cash prize. Also in the Alpha Smart, I didn't mention this. Those short stories we write, they're going to be on here. And so they're going to actually be, I won't turn on and show you, but you'll just be able to, and people listening on the podcast, they can't see it, but they'll actually be written into this thing directly. And so you'll get that. And so that's the, I've been trying to like rack my brain all month to say like, what would be something really cool to do a giveaway for the Alpha Smart. And so.
Right. Yeah, it's been weeks. You got yours, and it came with its companion, and every time that I talk to you, you're trying to give it a loving home, but in a flashy, exciting way.
I know. I bought two, and I've been using one, and I love it. I love it. And
Yay! Join us.
For people who aren't used to the AlphaSmart, I got it a few years ago. I really loved it. They're incredibly useful because you can only see 4 lines at a time. So it really forces you to get your momentum forward. You're not looking back and editing. It's really not built for that. What it's built for is getting your first draft down fast. And it has 4, I think it's 4, is it 4 or 3 AA batteries that goes for 700 hours. So you can take it anywhere. It's tough. My son actually stood on it and did not break.
Wow.
Yeah, he was probably about 40 pounds at the time. So
for me, obviously because I'm a klutz, like one of the first things I did was drop it on the ground. Seriously. And it withstood. But you know, one of the things I really like about it is a distraction-free writing area. Is don't bring my laptop, don't bring anything else. Just take it. It turns on and off super fast. There's no boot time, right? Because it's not a computer.
Right.
Just hit an on button and your text is there. And then the idea is you just write. And write and write and write and write.
So you can take it out in the woods if you want to go write. You can take it hiking. You can take it anywhere. I'm given to bouts of rage, so I threw mine against the wall. It is fine. So please,
good to know.
Get yourself an AlphaSmart if you don't win the one that Matt has in his hands.
Yeah. So, okay. So, again, submissions, go ahead and email us, podcast@authorstrong.com. And we're going to come out with more. We'll talk about it more throughout the month. And so we'll just cut off submissions during our next live show. And then we will announce after that the winners. And the idea is that when we announce the winners, I want to have the book also done. I want to say, here's the winners. Here's the book. Here's the tutorial. Here's the money. Here's everything.
Here's all the things.
Here's all the things. Go be happy. Rejoice. So that's it. We'll have more details come out. We'll put it up on our website. We'll put it on Facebook. Put it on all the things. And so yeah. So I think that's going to about do it for us here on the first live show. So Libbie, I don't know if you want to try it, but where can our listeners reach you? And I'm fairly certain I can transcribe this if
read her lips.
I'm afraid to say anything. But did I get stuck again?
No, you're good.
No, go.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Well, now that you called yourself out.
Readers, viewers, you may find me on libbiehawker.com, which is LIBBIEHAWKER, or find me right here in hell.
I think she's referring to her room as opposed to this podcast in particular.
Oh.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah, so go check out Libbie Hawker. It's Libbie. I know and I feel good because I've now had other friends who have also made the same mistake. My phone hates Libbie and tries its hardest to change it to Libbby. So be aware if you're typing in Libbie. Libbie Hawker, Libbie, Hawker.com. And then Robert, where can our listeners go check out all the great things that you've got going on?
They can check out the links to all my books. My latest one is The End of the World as I Know It, and that's the Ghost and the Demon series. The first one is The Haunting Lessons. I also do a couple podcasts. You can check all that out at allthatchazz.com. As always, Chazz is with 2 Z's, 2 Z's if you're nasty.
Awesome. Allthatchazz.com. And real quick for me, we are going to be doing a little kind of hangout. Anyone, Libbie, Robert, you guys are welcome to hang out a little bit. We can't hang out terribly long because Nancy and I are actually going to be going to do another show in an hour. We're going to be on the Self-Publishing Roundtable. So if you're not familiar with where that is, go to selfpublishingroundtable.com, and the episode that starts an hour from now will feature us. And we're going to be talking about mentorships and menteeships. I don't know if that's a word. I like to make up words, though.
Yes.
And so we'll talk about that. So right now we'll be doing a little hangout. I'll put a link in the comments, and first come, first serve. Whoever joins. The other thing I wanted to say, Nancy.
Yes.
2 months ago, I asked if you wanted to do a daily podcast with me. We're now a month into it. Like, did you actually ever Did you ever picture yourself to be like sitting here right now, hanging out with these?
I thought we might get this far, but I did not imagine the sort of people that we would meet just in 1 month. It is really awesome and overwhelming and very humbling there's so many people doing what I want to do, and I actually got to talk to them. So that's pretty cool. Oh, I said I wouldn't fan out, but I kind of did just now. I'm sorry.
You
If ruined it, go home.
We did it. We did an interview with Simon Whistler of the Rock and Self Publishing podcast this morning. It'll be coming out in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yay.
And so,
My God, it's like it's your birthday.
it's an incredible day. I want to say thank you for putting faith in me and trusting that we'd be able to pull this off. Libbie, Robert, everyone else we've had on, all the listeners, I want to thank all of you for making this a wonderful, wonderful first month. It's been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for being on here.
Thank you for having me.
And it turned off again. This thing doesn't like me, so there we go. All right, so technical difficulties abound, but for Libbie Hawker, for Robert Chazz Chute, and for Nancy Elliott, I'm Matt Morris. This has been the Author Strong Podcast. Take care.
Love and peace, everybody. Stay groovy.
Be sure to head over to authorstrong.com to subscribe to our newsletter and find more tools you need to succeed. We'll catch you next time here on the Author Strong Podcast.